Gender equity is not just about women. We have to make men a part of the solution.
Welcome to this edition of Sustainability Karma. I'm your host Rajiv Tikoo. Today we have a very special guest with us, Shaifalika Panda. She is special in more than one way. She is trustee and founder CEO at Bansidhar Panda Foundation, or what's called BIPF. And she also handles this CSR function at Indian Metals and Ferro Alloys. She combines these both roles in her working. So, welcome, Ms. Shaifalika Panda, to this edition of Sustainability Karma.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you for having me.
We could simply begin with what are the similarities between the two roles at the company and at the foundation, and what are the differences between the two roles?
So, IMFA as a corporate was established in 1961 in the erstwhile Koraput district. The genesis of the company was a result of a thought process of bringing livelihoods to the people of Odisha. And our philosophy since inception has been to carry our communities along. So essentially, IMFA was already having operations in 4 districts of Odisha and was amongst the largest ferroalloys producers when I took over the mantle. And my role since has been to craft the vision for IMFA's CSR. And, that led to the formation of the Bansidhar Panda Foundation. So when you ask about the similarities, it's about the foundation comprises of values and ethos of the corporate and carries forward the legacy of community-centric growth. In terms of dissimilarities, I wouldn't quite use that word. I would actually say that my role at IMFA is phase 1 of the solution. In which we underscore the importance of social development to the business teams at the corporate, and we look at it and point out the imperatives for aligning our CSR initiatives with with the company strategy. Thereafter, we work on the verticals to deliver the vision and select geographical locations for creating the impact investment framework and outcomes. Phase 2, which is my role at BIPF, is really about, implementing initiatives because we're one of the few corporates who work at the ground level on our own. That's what differentiates us. And the role entails strategic initiatives based on local solutions, engaging directly with the beneficiaries, capacity building programs. Essentially, also because the foundation undertakes projects for other corporates as well, and we do partnerships with them as well as the governments and the international NGOs. That too is part of my role at BIPF.
I want to ask you, how do you balance the social objectives of the foundation with the business interests of the group?
So I think it's very important for any group to understand that integrating social responsibility with business objectives is the way to achieve sustainability. And at IMFA, we understand this interconnectedness. We adopt a holistic approach where the business objectives and the social responsibilities complement each other. We align our ESG strategies with our CSR strategies. And that is what addresses societal challenges, improves resource management, drives sustainable growth, both for the business and for society.
The foundation works in health, livelihood, education, WASH, and interestingly, advocacy and appreciation, which is probably a rarity in Indian companies. But there's no gender vertical. But at the same time, gender seems to be cross-cutting kind of a thing. How come it's structured like that?
So women, we all know, face the socioeconomic expulsions from society. And not only are they faced with a disproportionate burden from the lack of opportunity in all the areas that you mentioned. But it is precisely this lack of opportunity that robs them of achieving their potential. So firstly, it's about leaving no one behind, and the women are being left behind. We also know empowering women is what really brings about the ripple effect. And to me, it's about creating that upliftment within their families and then the community at large. I think anyone in the space will tell you it's the women who bring about the intergenerational change. And that is the sustainable transformation which is at the core of every project that the Bansidhar Panda Foundation does, irrespective of across any of our 400 villages. And by placing women at the center of our projects, we aim to empower them through a convergence approach in our projects and create as much of a level playing field as possible.
You talked about leaving no one behind. Surprisingly, or rather, in fact, shockingly, India is performing the slowest on the gender SDG amongst all 17, actually 15 SDGs. And at the same time, the Global Gender Gap Report 2024 says it will take us 134 years to achieve gender parity at the current rate of progress. So, what can be done to accelerate the progress?
Well, I'm going to respond to this from a grassroots perspective, from a rural perspective, because that's where we work. The challenges are deeply entrenched in patriarchy, and they manifest themselves through society norms, sociocultural barriers, lack of awareness, unpaid care work, and lack of self belief. Now, limited access to education, skill, not having a voice in decision making at the household level, the digital gender divide, these are all the roadblocks that we're talking about. And in my mind, it's not about simply empowering women. It's about creating an environment for them to thrive, for them, and for that to happen, I think we need to reshape the stereotypical gender expectations for both men and women. And this must be done across the family, the community, and the workspace. So, the fastest way to accelerate this is to address gender norms from early life stages by giving gender sensitive training both at schools and at home. Something that will really help this cause is community driven change and behavior change campaigns, which are a tremendous way to set up the awareness through influencers, media, tech aided communication. And I think it's very important to advocate to the masses that gender equity is not just about women. We have to make men a part of the solution.
You talk to rural women. Now, what would be your, say, 1 to 3 prescriptions for empowering rural and marginalized women to gain access to resources and also to opportunities?
Enabling these women in the marginalized communities is really about a multidimensional approach. Because that is what is going to address both the immediate barriers as well as the long-term systemic issues that exist in society. The key is a holistic approach that combines education, healthcare, economic empowerment, including legal rights and a shift of mindset. To connect these marginalized people to gain access to the resources and opportunities that exist, I think we need agencies like ourselves who act as catalysts. It's very important to connect them to, the various schemes, the various interventions that are available, but I believe that most of them are unaware of. So to give an example, imagine connecting them to the Lakpati Didi scheme. That's very highly publicized, but to get to the nitty gritty and how to get there is the issue. The second would be to promote financial and social literacy, which I think India has done quite well in terms of their SAG projects. But I think if we add a little more of, very customized solutions to every SAG project that we work in and enhance their capacities on all these issues to be able to make informed decisions, that is what will improve the socioeconomic standing. And the third, again, very importantly, is driving the community buy-in. We need to change the mindset. We need to educate the community, the elders, the leaders in the community, so that they allow and also, let's say, accept empowered women in society.
And that's a very important point. At the same time, what can we do to break the glass ceiling in companies? What can the businesses themselves do?
Well, businesses themselves, I think their role is fairly well cut out. If we look, they must improve gender balance at all levels and aim for increasing the female work ratio in the organization. So if they keep their eye on that and then proceed from there, I think it's very important for them to design company policy, which is going to strengthen and support the women. It's all about having a just and equitable working environment, flexible work hours, family support for them in terms of daycare, and of course, diversity and inclusive policy at the workspace. Another very important factor to help women break the glass ceiling in organizations, I believe, is having a mentorship program and leadership training for them. And then it goes without saying that you need equal and transparent pay and a safe environment. But promoting female role models will go a long way in helping them break the glass ceiling.
You were also convener of G20 Empower Group on mentorship. What's your experience? How did it really lay the foundations for mentoring, as you said?
So the G20 Empower actually worked on three factors, which was women's entrepreneurship, partnering for promoting women's leadership at all levels, and education. And there was a cross-cutting dimension to this, which was about giving them access to technology and digital. Given that, I think we did a very good job in terms of pushing the mentorship agenda for women, because that is what helps navigate systemic challenges and gives them the guidance to break the barriers and access the opportunities. I think it's important for them to get the exposure in the professional networks, which will open doors to career growth and entrepreneurial opportunities. And platforms like the G20 Empower Mentorship Initiative is what allowed them to be able to get onto an aggregator platform to understand what are the various schemes there, what are the various opportunities there, be that in financial linkages, market linkages. So I think that was very helpful and continues to be so in the space of mentoring women's empowerment.
And finally, so we've seen CSR come a long way, but how do you see it really going forward in terms of evolving and also catalyzing more change?
We've come a long way in terms of the significant shift that CSR has had from sporadic charity to a structured impact. I think we are going to continue to evolve in this space from a compliance-driven activity to a more purpose-driven approach, focusing on creating measurable outcomes as well as long-term social impact. The cornerstone to being able to leverage the power of CSR is more about leveraging the the experience that each corporate brings with them in this space. And that is why I believe that collaborations are the cornerstone for sustainable progress on achieving the SDGs by the 2030 target. We cannot work in silos. We have to look at the task ahead, which is enormous, and use partnerships to fuel efficiency and scale, because it is the knowledge sharing which will help us minimize duplication of work. And these collaborations must certainly work with an eye on augmenting the government's efforts and work collectively towards the national goals and the SDGs. And I'd also like to highlight here that there is a role that philanthropy has to play in this, because philanthropy can put in the funds in the crucial areas where we need to bridge the existing gaps. It can also be looking at funding long-term interventions, because we know that systemic change requires a long-term outlook, and it can also provide the flexibility needed to curate local solutions, because every local solution may not be the first pilot may not work. So I do believe that this is something which we are already seeing, and I think we're going to see a lot more impact from this space.
You also talk about collaboration. Would like to single out one single project?
So, in fact, we have collaborated with the government of Odisha on skill, where we have, pushed forward the agenda of vocational training. And I do believe that, between education and skill, these are the two areas that are clearly about intergenerational change. The corporate is at the, or rather I should say, a foundation is at the grassroots level. They understand the needs of the people, and they understand how to, listen to them, listen to their needs, and curate a local solution. So when I also say skill, it's not just about skill in the vocational space, it's also about the livelihood skill. One of our most successful projects is Project Unnati, which is a SHG-driven project for social and financial inclusion. But at every stage, we partner with the local administration for all the little initiatives that we can connect them to. so that they're able to avail those kind of linkages that are available in the ecosystem. And that, I think, is what works as a win-win situation for the partnership.
I understand Project Unnati is one of your flagship projects. So what are the outcomes you expect?
So currently, I think we have worked with close to 4,000 women already on this. In the coming year, we are looking at an expansion of about 30% on this project, because we are also, as a company, expanding certain operations in areas. I think the outcome to this is a very positive and satisfying one, because after a 3-year handholding process, we actually benchmark the parameters for an exit policy, and we make sure that it is only when those parameters are met do we actually exit, and then go on to the very distant handholding mode to ensure that they have at least some sort of mentorship continuing. So in a sense, it's pretty much, you can look at it like a group mentorship program, and it's all about self-reliance as an outcome. I just believe that the most important thought is that for everyone to play their part. It really doesn't matter which sector you belong to. You can be from the corporate, you can be an NGO, you can be just an individual. But I do believe that if each and every one of us play our part, then we're certainly going to inch closer to the 2030 goals.
Thank you for that wonderful message. It will be very useful for people to listen to and implement. Thanks a lot for your time. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you so much, Rajiv.
We hope you like this program. The program is also live streamed on All India Radio. We look forward to your feedback on our WhatsApp number 9818120554. For participation in this program, write to us at sustainability.karma@gmail.com. Looking forward at the same time next week with a new episode and a new guest. Till then, goodbye from all of us. Sustainability Karma, a podcast series on sustainable development, sustainability, and ESG.